Oh, hi there. So I come from the state of Victoria in Australia, and I'm glad I moved from Victoria. I now live in Queensland. Queensland's a bit more conservative and less, how do you say it? I mean, those poor bastards had like 250 days in lockdown for that thing that happened in the last couple of years that I can't mention. We got like 2 weeks, if that. But here's a story that me right off. And I know my last video was a bit dark as well. I mean, if it was my last video. We don't exactly run a very tight ship here at the Bearing Corporation. But the one about maps and all that shit, you know the one I mean. Anyway, we'll get into it right after this quick sponsor. Bearing. Studies have revealed just how our appearance affects our mental health. The anti-aging industry has tried to capitalise on this for decades, but for many, their serums and supplements fall short. This is because many products on store shelves fail to target the source of the problem. Mostly they just hide wrinkles temporarily, using cheap ingredients. The alternative is a solution that rejuvenates the skin from the inside out to promote elasticity and youthfulness. This is why I'm such a huge fan of multi-collagen. Multi-collagen works to restore youthfulness of the skin. It helps combat loose skin and wrinkles quicker and more efficiently than anything else I've ever tried. But listen to this, the reason it really works is by supercharging the skin's collagen intake. Collagen is the protein our skin needs to stay elastic. This product helps deliver the collagen directly to the skin's cells, which is why it's so effective. If you want to look and feel your best, grab some multi-collagen today. Get up to 51% off this month by going to healthwithbear.com or visiting the link below. DecisionMagazine.com says Australian parents fearful of prosecution under Victoria's new transgender law. A new law in Victoria, Australia has parents fearful they will face prosecution if they don't affirm their children's preferred gender identity. Hang on, they fear they will be prosecuted if they don't affirm their children's gender identity. My daughter identified as a spider the other day. The next day she was a dinosaur. The next day she was a rocket ship. And they're saying if I don't affirm their gender identity or their identity, I will be prosecuted. Here's more. The Change of Suppression, Conversion Practices Prohibition Act 2021 was enacted on February the 17th, 2022 and bans parents from engaging in any practice that does not encourage gender transition. That's right, I said encourage gender transition. It is now illegal in Victoria if you do not encourage gender transition. That's a real thing. This has been enacted. Parents cannot deny their child puberty blockers, hormone treatments, or gender transition surgeries. Parents also cannot seek out non-affirming counselling for their child in Victoria or anywhere else in Australia. Can you imagine that, right? Harley said, hey, listen, I'm a boy. And she's like, not even 3. And we're like, no, listen, you'll grow out of it. You'll be fine. You just like playing with trucks.
So does this have an age on it? What's the law say, is it from an age?
It doesn't say an age. I mean, imagine that. We're breaking the law by saying, listen, Harley, just wait it out. I mean, you're allowed to be a girl that likes playing with trucks. You're allowed to be a girl and wear blue clothes. If you want to do that, that's you. You might just be a tomboy. You were a tomboy.
Yeah, I was.
The law also prevents counsellors from providing talk therapy to children experiencing gender dysphoria. So if your little boy comes to you, say, and says, I think I'm a girl, you can't say, well, I mean, let's just take you to a counsellor and talk it out or wait it out. That's illegal now. You're committing a crime. And at the end of the day, what does breaking the law mean? Well, I mean, initially it probably means a few fines, a few sanctions, that sort of thing. But ultimately, it means people with guns coming to your house saying, this is it, you have broken the law, you are going to jail for looking out for your kids' best interests. Jesus, this pisses me right off. I promise we'll do a funny one in the next one, but hell, there's been some up shit recently, and it has to be talked about. The Victorian Equal Opportunity and Human Rights Commission has been tasked with policing the act. Anyone found guilty of breaking the law could be fined up to $10,000 or face up to 10 years in prison. Imagine that. Harley, I know you like playing with trucks, I know you like wearing blue, but we've got to go get you some sex hormones. Otherwise, Daddy could go to prison for 10 years. I mean, imagine the first day in jail. Hey buddy, what are you in for? I'm in for multiple homicide. Yeah, I'm in for drug dealing. I'm in for Grand Theft Auto. Yeah, I tried to convince my daughter that she was a girl. F***ing hell. The world's f***ed. The world is just f***ed. According to the Victorian government's website about the law, conversion practices have no basis in medicine. It's not conversion practice. It's your f***ing 3 or 4 years old and you have an imagination practice. There is no evidence that sexual orientation or gender identity can be changed, but a professor of law at the University of Queensland, Patrick Parkinsons, argues it's the legislation that has no medical basis. Good. This is why I'm glad I moved to Queensland. Well done, Patrick, you go boy. The law is highly damaging to the well-being of some children, particularly because it discourages clinicians from engaging with children suffering from gender dysphoria or gender incongruence, and could deprive them of the help they most need, he said. It has no scientific basis because there is no evidence for harm from therapy which helps children become more comfortable with their natal sex. One parent shared that her daughter suffers from anxiety and gender dysphoria. When she and her husband sought counselling for their daughter, no one wanted to take her on as a patient. Oh, this pisses me off. One experienced mental health professional told us candidly that no one would see our child because it's too politicised. Oh, everyone's scared of the PC motherfuckers. I hate this country sometimes. Well, I mean, Queensland's okay, but Victoria, geez, I'm glad I moved from Victoria. Sarah said, so my child is just a political football for vote-chasing politicians. It feels like the government is interfering in families and personal relationships. It's very enraging to think that. Hey, I completely agree. Deanna Kenny, a former professor of psychology at the University of Sydney, had been treating children with gender dysphoria for about 4 years and has noticed an uptick in Victorian parents seeking her help since the law took effect. So they're all trying to f*** off from the state to more sane states to get the help their kids f***ing need. No wonder house prices in Queensland went bonkers. Psychologists in Victoria are terrified of practicing non-affirming psychotherapy for children with gender dysphoria, she said. Kenny also noted that about 40% of children presenting with gender dysphoria have also been diagnosed with other mental health issues such as autism. The majority of clinicians won't go anywhere near it unless they agree with the gender affirming model because they fear running foul of the legislation, so they're not treating children. Okay, that's just it's like the government own your children now. Your children are not under your care. They're not subject to your guidance as a parent. They're owned by the f***ing state. That is so f***ing disgusting. And I am terrified at things like this. This is why Australia needs more gun rights. Because I tell you what, if some f***ing government turned up at my house saying, hey, we're taking your daughter away because she likes wearing blue and we think she's a boy, things would get nasty. Anyway, as I said, the next one will be a fun one, I promise. There's been a couple of issues today that have just pissed me right off and they had to be talked about. I'll see you next time. Catch ya. Recession, session. Give me better times, give me better times. Recession, session. Give me better times, better times.